Hey everybody, Kat here. Welcome to the channel. It is Tuesday afternoon, and I have something for you. The latest installment in the King Charles III Life Imitating Art playlist, and I'm calling this Bringing Down the House. Now, I've written it out because I think what I've made is a considered argument from my position and my premise and what I think is going on. And, I wanted it to be as smooth as possible. So, yeah, my thoughts and opinions. I want to know what you have to think about all of this as well. But here we go. By his very words and actions, our monarch has shown his hand as a globalist. He really has. He's an autocrat. His values aren't the values of his subjects, but he doesn't care because it doesn't matter to him. And his lack of leadership has weakened the Church of England, of which he is the supreme governor. This lack of oversight has allowed Archbishop Justin Welby, who's been taken over by the woke mind virus, he's just turned doctrine on its ear. And whether you're religious or not, the traditional values of the church were a stalwart for society against tyranny and anarchy. The monarch's position over the church and his participation in it provided the wider public with, a societal ideal. And that's an old-fashioned concept, but it did help to maintain a certain order in society. And all that's changed now with King Charles III. Decades ago, he stated that he wanted to be known as defender of faiths, as in all faiths, instead of the proper title defender of the faith, meaning, of course, the Anglican Church, the Church of England. Now, with a desire to be all-inclusive like that and boost his popularity in a diverse population, Charles' actions have actually undermined the church's authority as well as his own authority, He has failed to put the church first, failed in governing his Archbishop Justin Welby as well. His desire to bring all the faiths together has backfired. His globalist ideas won't work. Diverse cultures will clash. So, till somebody becomes the superior class. That's just the way, study history, And the woke culture dictates favoritism to the minority. It's not just everybody has the same rights, and but this group over here, are oppressed or a different skin color or different religion, and so they're going to get special treatment. That's what's kind of going on. Just think of the example of England, where they're calling it a two-tiered police force. Depending on what side you're on, that's how you're going to be treated. And we saw that here in Canada with the Freedom Convoy, February of 2021, and the way that the Patriots were treated. Yeah, it's a real thing, And what you're seeing in Britain right now with the riots and things that have been going on recently, that's a public roar against this forced social engineering that's taking place. You know, the demonization of the Christian, the Jew, with deference by the authorities given to the Muslim population. I mean, I'm not a racist. It's just, this is reality. Everybody knows this is what's going on. You can see it, but you're not allowed to talk about it, or they call you a racist. They just don't want you to talk about it because they don't want you to catch on what's going on. All sides are being used. All sides are being used by the globalists to set them all against each other. To set them all against each other. The ruling government can use this dissent to oppress one group against another, and it's divide and conquer, you know. And the native Anglo-Saxon Christian in Britain there has been neutered by the woke mind virus that's taken hold of the government and its lawmakers. And I mean, it's the same here in Canada. It's happening in the States, the Western world, you know. This division and weakening of the populace is just one of the goals of the, for example, World Economic Forum, you know. It's one step closer to a wider ambition to strip us all of our rights and freedoms and access to resources, you know. And this explains the scams of conservation, climate change, green energy, net zero. It was all designed to break and enslave us. Now, so England has an ineffectual church, a tyrannical government, and a monarch that sits above it all, and he's in accord with what's unfolding. Indeed, Charles, as a member of the ruling class, as a member of the World Economic Forum, he's working actively to usher it in, as is William. And his work for conservation, wind energy, earthshot, all of this sounds admirable and important work. It's a step, and, you know, it's a trap, and Charles and William are knee deep. Not to say that they themselves aren't being used by the World Economic Forum, because it's all intertwined, and of course that's what's happening. And, you know, in the midst of all of this, the church is crumbling, and the monarchy, a supposed hedge against a corrupt government, a corrupt church, has failed under Charles' reign in such a short time. His authority has evaporated. His archbishop has taken the church deep into the woke waters, disregarding doctrine. There's no truth, no rules, no authority. This should have never been allowed to happen. But a woke socialist attitude on the part of the king has made it possible. And now the monarchy has shed its mantle of political neutrality that it's supposed to maintain. It's aligned itself with leftists' one world policies in government agenda. Indeed, in both Charles and William are participating members within the World Economic Forum, and it's an unelected body that directs government policy, feeds it down, you know, kind of bottom up, top down. Every government, Canada, Britain, every government has several members that are, you know, members of perhaps Parliament or Congress, and that are also members of the World Economic Forum, right? So this is how it's done. And I mean, the World Economic Forum, you know, unelected, they are using everything they got for this one world agenda, you know. using the green values, climate change, earth worship. Really, it's a religion, to strip humanity of its rights. And the king is on board with the plan. He knows what's going on. And instead of sitting above government, advising and warning as is his remit, the king and William are actively putting forth their own quote-unquote projects, right? Superseding the government in things like wind energy. These are Charles's scheme. He's hooking up with the government to get it done, but he's going to profit widely from it, as will William and his housing scheme to end homelessness, right? Admirable cause, but he's superseding government social policy. So is this what we're heading for? A monarch that disregards the authority of his own government? I don't know. But this plays right into the globalist hands, because, here we are at this point, and we see this happening, and we see how they're operating, and we understand that Charles mistakenly believes that by being inclusive, it'll bolster his support among the wider populace, right? The different cultures, etc. But the opposite is happening as the whole thing breaks down. All these different factions are set against each other, divide and conquer. That's how it's done. A divided house can't stand, and can't stand the forced tyranny of a corrupt government. And that's exactly what's happening in Britain. To a large degree, that's what's happening in Canada. So the question, I guess, is, can William save the day? Now, for years, since I started this channel, in fact, I have said that I believed that whenever it would be King Charles's reign would be short. And this is before the Queen died. This is before a cancer diagnosis on the part of Charles. It was all this. I've been saying it for over 2 years, and that there would be an event or a series of events that would culminate in the public and perhaps the government in opposition with the king. And that Charles would step in and push him off the throne, basically. A coup. This is kind of the premise of my whole thing, and it was interesting because I had watched this movie, King Charles III, and it was based on a play that was done, I think, in 2014. The movie came out in 2017, and I thought about it, a couple of years ago, like, good grief. In the way that, like, The Simpsons seems to predict things all the time, well, this is with this movie, right? And things were happening, and I kind of put it together, and I thought, I'm going to follow this. And this is what has developed into my King Charles III's Life Imitating Art playlist, of which this video is going to be the latest installment. Go and watch them. The background is incredible, and the way it's all fitting together, coming together, and moving forward, and where we're at right now, And I think we're in the period of Charles's short reign that'll be interrupted by overwhelming conflict, which we're seeing now, that would perhaps compel William to force his father from the throne. Like I said, I've said this for a couple of years, and the cancer at the minute, I think, will be used sort of as a cover to what really happened. It's very kind of convenient. He can use it as a reason to save face and step away when he's actually been ousted. I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'm just saying this is a premise that I kind of locked on a couple of years ago, and the way that events have unfolded, it's bloody possible. I can see this happening. You know? Now, the recent riots have really divided the nation, and the king's remarks he made about it, calling for unity and, fell flat because he's become ineffectual at a time that native Brits are looking to him for sympathy and support and direction. Well, even as the populace turns against the king and towards William, you got to remember that William's a globalist as well, eh? Just a younger and better version looking of one. The recent beard. But, and as far as the church and his future role above it, William really is even less interested in the faith than his father was. His values don't include religious faith. He's a socialist societies. There's no need for religion. Is that where England is heading? In my opinion, the monarchy's actively letting it happen. We'll have to wait and see what happens, but it kind is looking grim over there right now. I'd love to know what you think about all this. Leave me a comment. Like and subscribe. Share this video. And we'll see you in the next one. Take care, everybody.